Russian officer refuses to salute Traoré. Putin's response stuns everyone. In a moment that shocked international observers, a Russian military officer refused to salute Captain Ibrahim Traoré during an official appearance in Moscow. The unexpected act of disrespect sparked immediate reaction, but what President Vladimir Putin did next left the world speechless. This powerful video captures the tense moment between the Russian officer and Ibrahim Traoré. Putin's bold and unexpected response that changed the tone instantly. Global reactions from Africa, Europe, and the diaspora. What this incident means for Russia-Africa relations. How Captain Traoré continues to assert his leadership on the world stage. As Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Traoré has been at the center of a global shift toward African sovereignty, anti-colonial resistance, and strategic alliances. This incident in Moscow may mark a turning point in diplomatic relations. 1. The tense moment between the Russian officer and Ibrahim Traoré. The alleged incident, referenced in X posts by users like at rbtilo777 and at Walls, reportedly occurred during Ibrahim Traoré's visit to Moscow on May 11, 2025, for the 80th anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War. These posts claim a Russian officer refused to salute Traoré, creating a moment of tension that symbolized a clash of military honor or diplomatic protocol. However, no official statements from the Kremlin, Russian state media, e.g. TASS, Sputnik, or international outlets, e.g. Reuters, BBC, Al Jazeera, corroborate this event. The absence of such reports suggests the incident is either fabricated, exaggerated, or too minor to warrant coverage. That if the incident occurred, it could have arisen from several factors. Cultural misunderstanding. Russian military protocol, rooted in its own traditions, may differ from Burkinabe expectations. A salute is a formal gesture, but its execution varies across militaries. The officer's refusal might have been unintentional, reflecting unfamiliarity with Traoré's status as a head of state or a strict adherence to Russian customs. Traoré's persona. At 37, Traoré is a young, charismatic leader with a military background, having led the 2022 coup that ousted Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. Known for his bold demeanor, evident in his armed appearance at Ghana's presidential inauguration in January 2025, he might have perceived a withheld salute as a personal or national slight. Diplomatic context. The Moscow visit was a high-profile event, with Traoré among African leaders invited to a symbolically significant commemoration. Any protocol breach would risk undermining Russia's efforts to court African nations, making it unlikely unless deliberate or accidental. Without evidence, the incident remains speculative. Social media amplification, particularly by pro-Traoré or pro-Russia accounts, may have exaggerated the moment to highlight Traoré's defiance or Russia's respect for him. The lack of official reaction from either side suggests that if it happened, it was quickly resolved or deemed insignificant. This section's reliance on unverified claims underscores the need for caution, but the broader context of Traoré's visit, marked by warm Kremlin rhetoric, sets the stage for analyzing subsequent events. 2. Putin's bold and unexpected response that changed the tone instantly. X posts imply that Vladimir Putin responded to the alleged salute incident in a way that diffused tension and elevated Traoré's stature, shifting the atmosphere instantly. However, no credible sources detail a specific response tied to this incident. The Kremlin's official readout of the May 11, 2025, meeting provides insight into Putin's approach, which may have served as a diplomatic counterbalance to any perceived slight, whether real or fabricated. According to Kremlin.ru, Putin welcomed Traoré warmly, emphasizing Burkina Faso's historical role in World War II, noting that 30,000 Burkinabe fought in Free France formations against Nazism. He praised the friendly relations between Russia and Burkina Faso, pledged continued support for counterterrorism, and proposed expanding educational ties, including Russian university branches in Burkina Faso. These remarks align with Russia's broader strategy to strengthen ties with African nations, as seen in the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit and the 2024 Ministerial Conference in Sochi. That if the salute incident occurred, Putin's response might have included public affirmation. By highlighting Burkina Faso's contributions and Traoré's leadership, Putin could have reframed the visit as a moment of mutual respect, overshadowing any protocol mishap. His comments on shared history and future cooperation likely served this purpose. Private diplomacy, behind closed doors, Putin might have addressed the issue with a gesture, such as instructing officers to show proper respect or offering an apology, though no evidence supports this. Symbolic gestures. Putin's decision to gift Traoré a luxury Urus limousine, as noted in some ex-posts unverified, could have been a high-profile act to underscore Russia's commitment to the relationship. The bold and unexpected nature of Putin's response, as described on X, may reflect social media embellishment. For example, at General_Somdo's claim that Putin vowed to protect Traoré like a son was debunked by the explainer, highlighting the risk of misinformation. More likely, Putin's standard diplomatic warmth, tailored to African leaders to counter Western influence, was interpreted as a decisive intervention. This aligns with Russia's pattern of using high-profile engagements to project solidarity, as seen with leaders like Mali's Assimi Goïta and Niger's Abdourahmane Tiani. 3. Global reactions from Africa, Europe, and the diaspora. The alleged incident, while unverified, has generated buzz on X, reflecting Traoré's global resonance and the geopolitical stakes of his Russia alignment. Below is a detailed breakdown of reactions across regions, drawing on available data and contextualizing social media narratives. Africa. Traoré is a polarizing yet celebrated figure in Africa, particularly in the Sahel, where his expulsion of French forces in 2023 and pivot to Russia have made him a symbol of anti-colonial resistance. His Moscow visit, with or without the salute incident, reinforces this image. In Burkina Faso, rallies in Ouagadougou, reported by the BBC in 2024, have consistently supported Traoré's vision for a new Africa free from Western dominance. Posts on X, such as those by @AfricaFactsZone, frame his Moscow appearance as a bold stand against neo-colonialism, resonating with youth frustrated by France's historical influence. Regionally, leaders in Mali and Niger, part of the Confederation of Sahel States, view Traoré as a partner in their own Russia-aligned strategies. The April 2025 ministerial meeting in Moscow, attended by Sahel representatives, underscores this bloc's cohesion. If the salute incident were publicized, it might have sparked outrage among Traoré's supporters, interpreting it as disrespect to Africa. However, the lack of such backlash in African media suggests the incident either didn't occur or was contained diplomatically. Europe. European reactions are shaped by geopolitical rivalries. France, having lost influence in Burkina Faso after Traoré's 2023 expulsion of its troops, views his Russia alignment with alarm. French media outlets like RFI have criticized Traoré's junta for delaying democratic transitions, and his Moscow visit likely deepened concerns about Russia's growing Sahel presence. The U.S. similarly has clashed with Traoré, with General Michael Langley accusing him of misusing gold reserves to enrich his regime, a claim that sparked protests in Ouagadougou in 2024 per Reuters. Russian media, conversely, promotes Traoré as a Pan-Africanist hero, amplifying his image to counter Western narratives of Russia's isolation. Sputnik and RT have highlighted his visits and speeches, framing him as a partner in a multipolar world. If the salute incident occurred, European analysts might see it as a minor embarrassment for Russia, but the Kremlin's swift diplomatic response, e.g. Putin's warm rhetoric, would mitigate any fallout. Diaspora. The African diaspora, particularly in the US, UK, and France, has embraced Traoré as a symbol of black empowerment and anti-imperialism. Beverly Oching, quoted by the BBC, notes his appeal among African Americans and Black Britons, driven by slick social media campaigns on platforms like TikTok and X. Rallies in London and Washington, D.C., in 2024 expressed solidarity with Traoré's vision, per Al Jazeera. The alleged salute incident, if true, would likely be framed by diaspora activists as Traoré standing firm against disrespect, enhancing his heroic narrative. X posts by users like @Polyblogger, celebrating Traoré's defiance, reflect this sentiment. The incident's unverified nature limits its impact, but Traoré's broader actions, such as his armed appearance in Ghana or his Russian speech, sustain his diaspora appeal. These communities amplify his message, often glossing over domestic criticisms of his junta's human rights record or delayed elections. 4. What this incident means for Russia-Africa relations. The alleged salute incident, if real, is a minor hiccup in the rapidly expanding Russia-Africa relationship, which prioritizes strategic alignment over protocol disputes. Russia has positioned itself as an alternative to Western partners, offering military, economic, and humanitarian support to nations like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Below is an analysis of the incident's implications in this context. Russia's African strategy. Since the 2019 Russia-Africa summit in Sochi, Russia has deepened ties with African nations, leveraging anti-Western sentiment. In Burkina Faso, Traoré's 2022 coup and subsequent expulsion of French forces opened the door for Russian involvement. The deployment of Africa Corps, formerly Wagner, troops in 2024, alongside 25,000 tons of free wheat, exemplifies Russia's multifaceted approach. The May 11, 2025, meeting between Putin and Traoré, for Kremlin.ru, focused on counterterrorism, education, and trade, signaling a long-term partnership. A protocol mishap like the alleged salute refusal could highlight cultural or procedural gaps. Russian military culture, formal and hierarchical, may not align with African expectations of respect for heads of state. Such incidents risk alienating partners, but Russia's strategic interests, access to resources, geopolitical influence, and countering Western sanctions, ensure these are quickly addressed. Putin's warm rhetoric and practical commitments likely neutralized any fallout. Africa's perspective. For African nations, Russia offers an alternative to traditional Western partners, who often attach conditions like democratic reforms to aid. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, facing jihadist insurgencies, value Russia's no-strings-attached support, including arms and training. The Confederation of Sahel States Moscow meeting in April 2025, reported by TASS, reflects this alignment. However, reliance on Russia risks entangling African nations in global rivalries, as seen in U.S. sanctions on Russian-linked entities in the Sahel. The alleged incident, if publicized, might raise questions about mutual respect, but African leaders prioritize tangible benefits, security, food aid, infrastructure, over symbolic gestures. Traoré's focus on Russian university branches and counterterrorism support suggests he views the relationship pragmatically. Broader implications. The incident underscores the need for clearer diplomatic protocols as Russia-Africa ties deepen. Cultural sensitivity training or standardized ceremonies could prevent future missteps. More broadly, Russia's charm offensive, including free grain and educational initiatives, strengthens its image as a reliable partner, contrasting with Western criticism of African juntas. However, African nations must navigate the risk of overdependence on Russia, which faces its own economic constraints amid the Ukraine conflict. 5. How Captain Traoré continues to assert his leadership on the world stage. Ibrahim Traoré, a 37-year-old army captain turned president, has emerged as a global figure through bold actions and strategic alliances. Since seizing power in September 2022, he has reshaped Burkina Faso's foreign policy and cultivated a Pan-Africanist image. Below is a detailed exploration of his leadership on the world stage. Domestic foundation. Traoré's leadership rests on his military credentials and anti-colonial rhetoric. His expulsion of French forces in 2023, citing neo-colonial interference, won him domestic and regional support. However, he faces challenges. Jihadist attacks continue, with over 2,000 deaths in 2024 per ACLED data, and his delay of democratic elections has drawn criticism from ECOWAS and the African Union. His sacking of Prime Minister Apollinaire Kailam de Tambala in December 2024 and foiling an alleged coup in April 2025, per RFI, demonstrate his consolidation of power, but also highlight vulnerabilities. Regional influence. Traoré's alignment with Mali and Niger under the Confederation of Sahel States has created a Russia-backed bloc challenging Western influence. His appearance at Ghana's presidential inauguration in January 2025, armed with a holstered pistol, sparked controversy, but also admiration. The BBC reported cheers from the crowd, reflecting his appeal to youth seeking strong leadership. Ghanaian officials criticized the weapon as a security breach, but Traoré's defiance only bolstered his image as a fearless leader. Global stage. Traoré's Moscow visit on May 11, 2025 was a high-water mark. His speech in Russian, noted in Kremlin transcripts, and his call for educational cooperation showcased his ambition to position Burkina Faso as a player in multipolar geopolitics. Social media posts in French and English, railing against imperialism and neocolonialism, amplify his global reach. Russian media, per the BBC, promotes him as a Pan-Africanist icon, contrasting with Western critiques from outlets like France 24 that his pivot to Russia has drawn US and French ire. General Langley's 2024 accusation of gold reserve misuse, reported by Reuters, led to protests in Ouagadougou, framing Traoré as a victim of Western hostility. Meanwhile, his engagement with Turkey, China, and Iran, noted in X posts, reflects a diversified foreign policy. Challenges and prospects. Traoré's global stature hinges on balancing domestic stability with international alliances. His junta's human rights record, including reported abuses against civilians per Human Rights Watch, risks alienating some supporters. Yet his charisma, youth, and defiance, evident in his armed Ghana appearance or Moscow speech, sustain his appeal. As he navigates jihadist threats and geopolitical rivalries, Traoré's ability to deliver security and development will determine his lasting impact.